Hey guys, Kat Kerr, and I have some exciting news. I have some new rice papers with joggles.com. Now, introducing my Girl Power rice paper collection. Eek! Now, there are 5 different designs in each collection, and I had to start off with my Art Sister page. And while I was creating this collection, and I knew it was going to be called Girl Power, I had to include Art Sisters, right? And so again, this has one side that is colored, one that is not. So you have plenty of options when working with them. The second one is Be in Awe, and I just love those eyes. Oh my goodness, I love them. And this one was just a gentle reminder to see everything. Next up is You Are, and you are exactly where you need to be. Now, each girl has to be a little wonky. That's the way I like to make them. I love the big eyes popping out, makes them curious and inquisitive. And this one's called Unfolding, and I just love everything about her. I love her hair and her clothing, and on her neck you can also see the words unfolding. It's just a wonderful image to play with. Next up, I have Little Bird, and this one is more about the other side of that powerful girl, and it's just about that gentle and delicate side. Now today I'm going to be making 2 journal pages, one with an image that's already has color and one that's without. And first I was figuring out which journal to use. I love how big these images are. I think they really just have such an impact on the page, and so I was figuring out which journal to use, and I ended up with this mixed media one from Van Gogh, and I'm just cutting out the image now. Since it already has color on it, there's not much that I have to do except cut it out and trim it out. And just remember that when you are using rice paper, you can cut out your image with a pair of scissors, or you can even use just a water brush if you want to have that edge with the fibers of the rice paper, which is also a pretty unique look. Now I added the images using a glue stick, but here I'm adding a layer of clear gesso, and I'm doing that to protect the image. At the time I wasn't sure what medium I was going to use. I could use watercolor, acrylic, you name it. I ended up going with acrylic, but the gesso was more so for watercolor. If I did not add the gesso, the watercolor would have soaked up into the rice paper, and I didn't want that, and so that was why I added the gesso. But I ended up using acrylic paint, like I said, and acrylic paint it's got a thicker viscosity, so it doesn't really move like watercolor, so there was really no need for me to add the gesso. But again, I didn't know at the time what I was going to be using. Another reason for using that transparent gesso is, as you can see, I'm adding some acrylic paint to the top of the rice paper, and again, I didn't want any medium to soak in, and by having that gesso, it allows me to add the color but then wipe it off without damaging the rice paper. Next, I'm adding some texture to the background using one of my Joggles foam stamps. Now I'm adding the stars that I cut out, and I could have done this in the beginning. I just chose to apply them on top of the acrylic paint, but it's just preference. Here I'm adding some shadow with an Ecoline marker. Lastly, I'm finishing up this page with some Jelly Roll pens. Now, as I mentioned, for the second page, I'm using one without color. I'm using the Art Sister design, and I am adding the color with some acrylic paint. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you can really use any kind of medium, but keep in mind that if you are using something that is watery like watercolor, it is going to seep into those fibers unless you seal the image. And normally I don't mind that it does that because I will cut around the image, but it can become a challenge if you're trying to keep it in lines. For example, if I'm adding watercolor to the lips or the eyes, and so that's something to keep in mind if you do decide to use watercolor. And just like before, once I adhered the images, I started on the background. Here I'm using one of my stencils from Stencil Girl products. And like that first page, I'm adding some final touches using that Ecoline marker and jelly pens. Well, I hope that you enjoyed creating these journal pages with me, and I especially hope that you like these rice papers. You can now find them at joggles.com. Thanks for watching.